What if the one thing standing between you and a completely different life was your alarm clock? Not your boss, not your bank account, not where you grew up or what degree you have, your alarm clock. There's a man who figured this out at rock bottom. No savings, no plan, no way out. But he made one small, almost ridiculous decision, and 90 days later, his entire world looked nothing like it did before. Stay with me, because what he did is something you can start tonight. But first, quick question before we dive in. What time is it where you are right now, and what country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to know. And if you're new here, hit subscribe, because every week we bring you real stories with real lessons. All right, let's get into it. Picture a city where the factories never shut off, smoke, noise, and shift work around the clock. That's where Thomas lived. 32 years old, working nights as a security guard at a warehouse. He clocked in every evening at 8, and by 6 the next morning he was dragging himself home, worn out, to sleep in a one-room apartment that barely qualified as a home. We're talking a cracked ceiling fan that hadn't worked in months, a mattress flat on the floor, a single light bulb that flickered whenever the voltage dipped, and shoes that had literally worn through at the soles. But here's what broke Thomas more than any of that. It wasn't the poverty. It was the feeling of being frozen in time. Every morning on his walk home, he'd pass houses coming to life, kitchen lights flickering on, kids in school uniforms, men buttoning up collared shirts heading somewhere with purpose, and Thomas would think, is this it? Is this the loop I'm stuck in forever? He wasn't sitting around doing nothing either. That's the painful part. He applied for jobs, but without a degree, every door closed. He'd think about learning new skills, but after an 8-hour night shift his brain was soup. Sleep wasn't laziness, it was survival. His mom called every week from the countryside. Thomas, my son, when will things get better? I'm getting older, I want to see you make it. He'd put on his best voice. Soon, mama, I'm working on it. But he wasn't, because he didn't know how. And that's the cruelest kind of stuck, not lazy, not careless, just genuinely lost, working hard inside a hamster wheel. Then one cold November morning, his sister called while he was leaving his shift. Thomas, come home now. Mama collapsed. She's at the clinic. He was on the first bus out, 3 hours that felt like 3 years. When he finally got there, his mother was lying in a hospital bed, pale and small. The doctor said it was exhaustion and stress, and the medication she needed wasn't something they could easily afford. She reached for his hand, her grip weaker than he remembered. Thomas, don't waste your life the way I wasted mine. Find a way, promise me. He sat beside her long after she fell asleep. He looked at her hands, rough, calloused, shaped by decades of physical work, and he recognized them. They looked like his future. He walked outside. It was 5 in the morning. The sky was just beginning to separate from the darkness. A few farmers were already moving through the village, and birds were starting up somewhere in the trees. Standing there in that quiet, Thomas didn't break down. He got angry, not at anyone else, at his own helplessness, at the years he'd let slip past him. He whispered it to no one in particular. No more, I don't care what it takes, I will find a way out. On the return journey, Thomas noticed the man sitting across the aisle, well-dressed, reading a hardcover book, relaxed in a way that only peace of mind can buy. Thomas recognized him. Mr. Chun owned several businesses around town, known, respected, successful. What struck Thomas wasn't the man himself, it was the time. 6 in the morning, a wealthy man on a public bus at dawn, calm as a Sunday afternoon. Thomas leaned over. Excuse me, sir, why are you on the early bus? Mr. Chun looked up, not annoyed, just curious. Because I wake up at 4:30 every morning. These early hours, before the world gets loud, that's my time, to read, to think, to plan. But don't you need more sleep? I'm in bed by 9, 7.5 hours. I'm not sacrificing sleep, I'm just moving it. He looked at Thomas more carefully. You work nights? Security guard, get home around 6. And you sleep until? For in the afternoon usually. Mr. Chun leaned back, nodding slowly. So you're awake when the world is resting, and asleep when the world is building. You're running on opposite time, and you're wondering why you can't catch up. He leaned forward. Let me tell you something I learned 30 years ago. The hours between 5 and 7 in the morning, those aren't just morning hours, they're construction hours. That's when you quietly build the life everyone else will eventually see. Thomas felt something shift in his chest, That dangerous, fragile thing called hope. But I finish work at 6, I need sleep. Then restructure it. Get home, sleep by 6:30, up by 11:30. That's 5 hours, enough to function. Then you're awake for the day, living like a human being. And if you ever switch to days, 5 a.m. becomes your anchor, always. Mr. Chun pulled out a card, wrote his number on it, and held it out. If you're serious, call me. I'll show you exactly what to do with those hours. But I'll be straight with you. This only works for people with real discipline, not people who plan to start Monday. Thomas held the card the rest of the ride home, and that evening he called. The next day, Thomas showed up to a small cafe at 11 a.m., wide awake on a weekday for the first time in years. Mr. Chun arrived, saw him, and nodded with approval. You actually changed your schedule. Most people say they will. You just did. Good. He opened a notebook and drew something simple, a house. Thomas, your life right now is a house with no foundation. It looks okay from the outside, but it's sinking because every ounce of your energy goes into surviving, not building, and we're going to fix that. He tapped the page. 2 hours every morning. That's all this takes. Here's the math. 2 hours a day is 14 hours a week. 14 hours a week is 60 hours a month. 60 hours a month is over 700 hours a year. He wrote it out. That's equivalent to 3 extra full months of productive time that the average person throws away every single year. Thomas stared at the numbers. Here's how you use those 2 hours, and this is non-negotiable. Hour 1, 5 to 6 a.m., is for building a skill that changes your financial situation. Not entertainment, not social media, learning. Pick something the market actually pays for. Free courses are everywhere. YouTube alone could get you certified in half a dozen trades if you used it right. Hour 2, 6 to 7 a.m., is for building your body and your mind. 30 minutes of movement every day, no exceptions. Your body is your infrastructure. Then read, plan, review what you just learned, let it settle. And 3 rules that are not optional. 1. The alarm goes off at 5-7 days a week. The moment you start making weekend exceptions, you're negotiating with failure. 2. You're asleep by 9 p.m. This isn't a sacrifice, it's a trade. You're trading mindless late-night scrolling for a version of yourself that actually gets somewhere. 3. The first 3 weeks are going to be brutal. Your body will stage a protest. Your brain will generate 100 convincing reasons to quit. Push through. At 21 days, it starts to feel normal. At 90 days, it feels like you. He closed the notebook. I'm giving you a 3-month challenge. Build the habit, show me results, and I'll personally help connect you to better opportunities. But if you quit, don't call. The world has enough people who almost changed their life. Thomas felt the weight of the challenge settle over him, but underneath it something he hadn't felt in a long time, direction. I won't quit, he said. Everyone says that, Mr. Chun replied with a knowing smile. The first alarm at 5 a.m. sounded like an accusation. Every part of Thomas wanted to bargain with it. 1 more hour. You're running on nothing. Be reasonable. But then he saw his mother's face. He heard Mr. Chun's voice. He thought about the card in his wallet, and he threw the blanket off. The first week was genuinely hard. Eyes burning, mind foggy, watching Excel tutorial videos on a cracked phone screen in a dark apartment. At 6 a.m. he'd walk the neighborhood. Not gracefully, not enthusiastically, but he walked. Nobody around him understood what he was doing, and he didn't try to explain. Then something happened around day 20. He woke up at 4:58, 2 minutes before the alarm. His body had quietly stopped fighting him, and for the first time sitting down with his tutorials at 5 in the morning, he didn't feel like he was grinding through it. He felt like he was building something. The Excel formulas started to click, data analysis started making sense, and he finished his first certification. The morning walks, which had once felt like punishment, became the part of his day he protected most. The silence, the sunrise, the knowledge that while most of the city was still unconscious, he was becoming a different person. It was addictive in the best possible way. By month 2, he had completed 3 courses in accounting and Excel. His thinking was noticeably clearer. His weight was down from the daily movement, and a confidence had grown in him that people around him started noticing without knowing why. Thomas, you seem different. You doing all right? Better than all right. I'm building. In month 3, he put his skills to work. The warehouse had always had a chaotic inventory system, tracked on paper, half of it inaccurate. Thomas built a clean Excel system from scratch, organized, automated, easy to read, and showed it to his supervisor almost casually. His supervisor stared at it for a long moment. Thomas, where did this come from? I wake up at 5 a.m. and I teach myself things. Word climbed the ladder, supervisor to manager to owner, and on day 87 Thomas was called into the office. We're expanding our accounting team. We need someone who knows this warehouse inside out and has bookkeeping fundamentals. That's you. Day shift, salary double what you're on now. Thomas stood very still. 3 months ago he was invisible, exhausted, going nowhere, and now he was being handed a ladder. When do I start? Monday. That evening Thomas called Mr. Chun. I did it. 90 days, not one alarm ignored, and today I got promoted. A pause, then Mr. Chun's voice, quieter than usual and genuinely warm. I knew. You had that look when I met you. Not the look of someone who wants to change, the look of someone who has to. Should I keep waking up at 5? Thomas, that was never a strategy. That's your identity now. Don't ever let it go. A year on, Thomas was the lead accountant. He'd moved his mother to the city, proper care, proper comfort, 2-bedroom apartment, real furniture, no flickering lights. Every morning at 5 a.m. the alarm goes off, and he still gets up, not because he has to anymore, but because those 2 hours are sacred. That's when he learns new software, reads, plans, and grows. His colleagues tease him about it. Thomas, you made it. Why are you still waking up at 5? He always gives the same answer. Success isn't something you arrive at. It's something you practice, and my practice starts at 5. Here's the truth that Thomas's story makes impossible to ignore. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is probably not what you think it is. It's not talent. It's not connections. It's not even hard work. Thomas worked hard for years with nothing to show for it. It's protected time, intentional, consistent, undistracted time, when the world is quiet and your mind is fresh and no one is asking anything of you. 5 a.m. isn't magic. The discipline is the magic, and discipline is just a decision you make the night before. So here's your challenge, the same one Mr. Chun gave Thomas. Tonight, set your alarm for exactly 5 a.m. and put your phone across the room, so getting back into bed requires an actual decision. Right now, before you close this video, decide what you're building in hour 1, one skill, one course, one thing with a real payoff, and commit to it for 90 days. Then guard your 9 p.m. bedtime like it's a meeting you cannot cancel. The Netflix will still be there, the endless scroll will wait, but your future has a deadline. 90 days from now you won't be a millionaire. I'm not going to tell you that, but you will be a different person, more disciplined, more capable, more in control, and that version of you can build anything. Thomas started with a broken fan and a hole in his shoe. You're watching this on a device connected to every piece of knowledge in human history. The only question is what you do after you close this video. If you're actually in, hit the like button right now and make it your commitment. Then drop a comment and tell me what you're building in your first hour tomorrow, because I read every single one and I want to hold you to it. Share this with one person in your life who keeps saying they want to change but hasn't moved yet, because sometimes the right story at the right moment is all it takes. And subscribe, because every week we bring you exactly this, real transformations and the precise steps behind them. Thomas's last words on this: success is a daily practice, and your first session starts tomorrow morning. Will you be awake?